Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And welcome to another Front Porch Peterisms. It is such a beautiful day. It is really, really hot today, and I've just been sitting out here and been drinking my iced coffee in my new Starbucks cup and talking to my neighbors. There's actually a really, really nice breeze. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. But it's just such a beautiful day, and I think I'm going to film a couple more videos and then go up to the pool with my neighbor maybe and take a little bit of a dip, and then come back and take a nap and maybe watch a movie with my husband tonight. Last night we caught up on some TV shows and we had a great night and we ate dinner together. It was really fun. So anyway, I'm just having a really relaxing day, and I was going to do some meditations today, but I was reading through the comments on my last video, and there was a question that was asked to me about some advice, and it really kind of hit home with me, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to address somebody. I love to do the videos where I address comments or questions that you guys leave me. So anytime that you have a specific video that you want me to make, or a specific question that you have, whether that's about, you know, just personal experiences of mine with like grief or recovery and addiction, or, you know, family interactions or friendships, or just things that I've gone through in my life, you know, it's all just my personal experience that I'm sharing. But if you have any questions or would like me to do a video about that, please put it in the comment section below. You know, you don't even have to like share in depth like this person did, which, you know, it's helpful to me because then I understand the situation more fully. But if you just want to like share briefly because you don't want to share real personal stuff, that's totally fine. So I'm going to read this comment to you guys. Now I have to tell you what's so funny is, because I go in and out, in and out, in and out while I'm making videos, I have 2 pairs of reading glasses out here. I don't know how many reading glasses a person needs, but apparently I need 2 out here. So anyway, let's read this comment. And the comment says, "Hey Peter," and this was on my video that I did about removing toxicity from your life. I think it was the last video that I did. "Hey Peter, any advice for a toxic family member? My brother-in-law is that person who loves to argue about everything and has an opinion about everything. A lot of my family members feel like we have to walk on eggshells because we never know how he's going to react. We've brought this issue up to his wife, my sister, and no matter what, she sticks up for him and has even cut ties with us in the past. It seems like I always have to compromise and stay quiet just to keep my relationship with my sister. I can't escape him since he's family. Love you, Peter." And somebody responded and said, "I would just back off and keep our meetings light. Don't bring up anything around him that would require him to feel like he needed to give you his opinion. Maybe you need to change your relationship with him and your sister. I know it may hurt," or sis, "I know it may hurt, but sometimes your peace is more important." And I have to say, I absolutely 100% agree with that response. You know, I do have experience with toxic family members, and I also have experience with toxic friends of mine in friend groups, right? And I think that the thing is that toxicity can come in many different ways. And depending on how you perceive it, you know, like toxicity can come, you know, in the way of somebody just being very angry or reactionary and feeling like you have to walk on eggshells. You might define toxicity as that every time you interact with somebody, they want to share with you their political or religious beliefs that are oppositional to yours, or, you know, they want to talk about something that makes you uncomfortable to talk about, or they have a stance that makes you uncomfortable. Now, for me, that's a little bit different, and I will share that in just a second. But, you know, like, I think we can define toxicity in many different ways. You know, maybe that's just not, like, that person is just not healthy for us. Maybe, you know, they say things that are hurtful to us. Maybe they put us down, or they're sarcastic to us and things like that. So that's the first one that I want to address. You know, my dad is somebody, I wouldn't define my dad as toxic, but my dad is very sarcastic. And people always say, like, for years and years and years, people have always said, "Your dad is so funny." Like, whenever somebody thinks that I'm funny, they say, "You get your humor from your dad," because my dad, he is really a funny person, right? But years ago, my stepmom said something about, your dad is funny until you're the butt of the joke, because he always tells funny stories. Like, my dad is such a great storyteller, and I probably get that from him because I love to tell stories. But often, my dad's stories that are very funny are about things about me, or about things about my stepmother, which, yes, in context, are very funny, you know. Like this one time, we went on a vacation, and we went to St. Martin, and this is when I was in junior high, and our luggage got lost, and so we had kind of like that European vacation moment where we went to town and we bought all new clothes because we had no clothes for the entire week. And I was like obsessed with this one outfit that was like, it was matching pineapples, like pants and like a shirt. It looked like pajamas, but I was like so obsessed with this and wanted to wear it. I was like in 6th grade or 7th grade or something. And to this day, my dad still makes fun of this. I mean, he let me get it, but he still makes fun of this like he's like, do you remember that pineapple outfit that you had to, oh, Peter had to have this pineapple outfit. And he went crazy, and he like was prancing around, you know, watching himself in the mirror when he was like trying this outfit on. He had to have it. He was so excited about this pineapple outfit. I wish I still had this pineapple outfit. I'd wear it over to his house. I'm sure I wouldn't fit into it, but so that's like one of the stories. The other story that he tells is that when I was growing up, my dad took me out somewhere to like, with like a Red Ryder BB gun. My dad always talks about the Christmas movie, The Christmas Story, and he loves that movie because it reminds him so much of his childhood. And so he took me like out somewhere, and I'm just kind of using like funny light stories, but he took me out somewhere to like shoot cans with like a Red Ryder BB gun, and so while we were out there, like, he was, like, showing me how to do it. I was real young. I was, like, 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. And, like, he had all these cans. You know, like, you see in the movies, the cans lined up on, like, the tree stump or whatever. He had, like, that, you know, and he was, like, trying to explain it to me. And, of course, you know, I had my cowboy boots on and my badge, and I had my cowboy hat on and all that kind of stuff. And my dad's, like, looking at me, and he goes, okay, now do you want to try? And I go, Dad, I go, can you just shoot the gun and I'll be the cowgirl? And so he still brings it up to this day. He's like, do you remember? Okay, so he's always telling these, and those are kind of like funny stories, right? Like, haha. But there were stories that my dad would tell that I don't know that he realized that they hurt my feelings, but that they were things that he never, like, my dad has always been somebody, and I've shared this many times, has been so supportive of me. Like, when I came out, like, my dad was my biggest supporter when I came out. Like, he literally, like, put other doctors in their places that would make homophobic statements that he worked with and things like that. And my dad was very loud and proud of me as, you know, a gay man. And my dad is somebody that believes that scientifically you're born gay. Like, he just really believes that. And he's always been so supportive of me. He's been very supportive of my recovery. He's been supportive of all my relationships. He walked me down the aisle at my wedding. You know, he loves Alex, my stepmom too. They're both, you know, so support. My dad has been probably my biggest support system in my life. I talk a lot about my mom, and my mom and I had a very great relationship, but my dad has always been somebody that has been just like unconditionally supportive of me, right? So I know that no story or joke that he would tell that had me as, like, you know, the main part of it, he would do to hurt me, but there would be stories that he would tell that kind of like, that did hurt me. And so I finally said to my dad one time, I said, you know, Dad, like, some of those jokes kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And he was like, really? And he was like, I thought you thought they were funny. You know, they were things from your childhood or whatever. I go, well, some of them are funny, but some of them kind of hurt my feelings. And he was like, which ones? And I told him several of the stories that kind of hurt my feelings. And he's like, he calls me Pete. And he said, Pete, I never knew that. He said, if I had known that, I would never have done that. I wouldn't tell those stories. I'll never tell those stories again. And he hasn't. He's never repeated those stories. And in fact, I'm not, like, he tells certain stories that he knows that I think are funny, but he doesn't tell stories that he thinks kind of like go into that, right? So I think in that situation, if you're able to have a conversation with somebody and say, like, certain things that you're saying are hurting me or whatever, right? I think that would be where I would start with that. Now, this person's saying that they've had conversations with their sister, and their sister has set boundaries with them and said whatever, you know. It's interesting because Alex and I were watching The Real Housewives of Orange County last night. So many lessons I learned from this couple episodes we watched. But was it Real Housewives of Orange County that we were watching? I think it was. They were talking, some show we were watching last night was saying something about, what was it? That somebody hadn't, oh no, it was Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it was Drew's husband, and he hadn't let her sister come into their house because of things that she had said about him, right? And I looked at my husband and I said, I can't even imagine what your family would have to say or do for me to say they're never coming in this house again. And in all honesty, like, even if I said that, my husband would say, well, it's my house too, so you don't have that choice, right? Like, it would have to be something so severe And I think at that point, my husband would have my back, and he would say, no, like, we're not interacting with this anymore, you know? Now, thankfully, I don't have a lot of friends or family members that have really strong political or religious stances that are offensive to me personally, where I have to say, no, wait a second. Now, I will say, in my personal life, there have been a few people that have said some things to me. I'm like, listen, okay, like, you're not going to say that around me. And, you know, and I grew up with a mother that believed that she didn't want negativity in her house. And if you were going to make offensive statements, you could just leave her house. And she said that. I mean, that happened, right? And so I grew up with that kind of mentality. There have been a few times in my life, I would say more so with acquaintances than friends, because I don't think friends speak to each other that way, where they have said things to me and I'm like, okay, no, wait a second. Like, you're misinformed or you're uneducated or whatever, like, to have that statement or whatever. For me, I will say this. I do not love going to holidays, family events, birthday parties, and things like that, and getting into political or religious conversations. I don't even love to get into, like, issue conversations at those kinds of things, especially with people that I'm not talking to on a daily basis or a regular basis. So when those conversations come up, I typically excuse myself and say, I'm going to go get a Diet Coke, or I'm going to go to the bathroom, or something like that. Like, I don't have it. And if the conversation, because those conversations typically become very heated, and if they become like that, then unless somebody says something, I'm like, okay, now wait a second. Like, we need to take a step back. And then I do make my stance very, I make it very clear, you know? But I can't even really remember the last time that has happened. Now, I can tell you, I've had some toxic family members. Like, in all honesty, my mom was a toxic family member when she was drinking, you know? And I did have to set boundaries with her when I got sober. You know, my counselor said to me, you need to stop having interactions with people that are still drinking. And I told my mom that. And she was like, Shirley, you can't meet me. And I was like, yeah, Mom, like, you're one of the biggest drinkers in my life. Like, I can't have interactions with you while you're drinking. And I didn't see my mom for a long time after I got sober, you know? And until she got sober. And that was for self-preservation. I don't know that self-preservation doesn't also extend to having toxic family members in your life and having to set boundaries and limits with them for you. Like this person said, it's peace of mind is more important than that, right? If I had and so, like, I can say, like, I really haven't had to do that with family members, but I have had a few acquaintances and friend groups, right? Where, like, literally every time we get together, it always goes somewhere. And I'm like, God, like, seriously, again, like, can we just talk about the last movie that we watched or something fun? Like, does it always have to go to this really, and I'm not talking about, like, us personally, I'm talking about, does it always have to go to issues and stances and opinions? Like, does it always have to go there? Like, I don't want to have that conversation when I'm out to dinner having a good time, right? And so what I typically do is when I get asked the next time, I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, if it happens 2 or 3 times, I'm like, I'm not going to dinner with that person again. I'm sorry. I'm just not, you know? Now, I have had friends of mine in my life that I was very, very close with that I consider family. And every single time that I got together with them, it was like, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, misery, 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 lack of gratitude. They couldn't appreciate anything in their life, you know, on and on and on. And they would, you know, say things to me like, I noticed that you're kind of pulling back, like you're kind of distancing yourself from me. And I would say, do you want to know why? And they'd say, yeah, sure. And I'd say, you know, and I've been the toxic person to people before, so I take full responsibility for that. I don't want to be that today, right? Like, I want people to enjoy being around me and to have good relationships with me and good interactions with me. And so I work really hard to not be that person today. So I also offer that person the opportunity, if they want to know why I'm distancing myself from them, I'll say, listen, like, every time we get together, it's always like, all you talk about is how miserable you are and whatever, and I feel for you, and I want you to get help, but, like, I don't want every interaction that we have to be, I mean, like, you don't have any gratitude, and you have, like, some people in my life that I know, like, have pretty good lives, right? And yet all they continue to do is complain and commiserate about how horrible their lives are. I don't have time for that. I just don't, right? Like, I surround myself with people that are very grateful for, some of my friends have very, very little, and they're extremely grateful for the little that they have, right? Those are people that teach me grace on a daily basis. Those are people that teach me how to look and say, oh wow, like, I have it pretty good, you know? I have my health, I have my life, I have my sobriety, I have a husband, I have a dog, I have a house, I have clean water to drink, I have food to eat, you know, I have friends to hang out with, you know, on and on and on. And it's like, So for me, when I'm surrounded by people that are like-minded, I see things the same way. When I'm surrounded by people that don't see things that way, then I start falling into that a little bit, right? And so that's dangerous for me because then that toxicity comes over to me. So I'll tell people that. Now, I will tell you, I've had a few people in my life where I've shared with them more than once that I've had to distance myself from them because, you know, it's like, it just seems to me like you're negative a lot. Like, and listen, I have no problem being a sounding board once or twice, but like every time I get together with you, when you're complaining about things that for me, like, and listen, I'm not talking about deep-seated issues like losing family members, losing friends, breaking up of relationships, health issues, things like that. I'm there for my friends all day long on that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about somebody complaining because, you know, they had 2 lunches they had to go to and didn't get to go out on the boat or something like that. Like, you know, I'm talking about something like that. Or that, and every conversation is like that. Every conversation is so complaining about stuff, right? Like, I mean, we all complain a little bit here and there. Like, let's just be for real. We're human. We all complain about things. But I'm talking about when literally the entire conversation of an hour and a half is all just like, if you had my life, you'd be miserable too. And I'm looking at that person, I'm thinking, well, you have a pretty grand life. Like, your kids are healthy, you know, you have a beautiful home, you know, you don't have a lot to worry about, you're healthy. Like, okay, so what are we complaining about? The fact that you have this purse that you want that you can't afford, and that's a huge issue. No, I don't have time for that. Now, a couple people that I have known have said to me, you know, like, wow, like, I thank you for saying something to me. A couple other people have said something to me about that too, and I really want to change. And they have, and they've become different people. Other people, they're not in my life anymore, you know? When people brought things to me and said, these are things I think you need to work on, okay? These are things I think you need to take a look at. I took a look at those things. I continue to take a look at things when people bring things to me because I want to continue to grow and change as a human being and as a person, because I think the more that you grow and change as a person, the more you enjoy your life, right? We are only here for but a limited amount of days. I am not going to put myself in a situation where I'm walking on eggshells and I am uncomfortable around people. I can sit on my front porch all day long and not have to be around one other person, okay? So if I'm gonna go to a dinner or I'm gonna go to a family event or whatever, you better bet your B-U-T-T that I'm gonna enjoy myself, you know? And I'm not gonna engage in toxic conversations. I'm not gonna engage in all this kind of stuff. And if I continue to go to it, I mean, and I don't have siblings, but you know, like, I would say, like, this is starting to become like a problem. Like, everybody's walking on eggshells, you know, and I wouldn't take it to my sister. I'd take it right to that person. And if they combated me with it and said, blah, 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 whatever, I'd say, well, then we're just not going to come anymore. And I'm sorry, you know, I'm going to have to see my sister different ways, or I'm going to have to host family events, and you won't be invited because you're too toxic to the situation. So I'm going to host things, and we're going to invite everybody, and you won't be invited because you're toxic. And I've brought it to you, and I've said that we don't enjoy our time with you, and you take no ownership over that and aren't willing to even say, wow, I didn't even realize I was affecting people in that way, you know? I don't know, it's kind of like, you know, years and years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, like, I had several different groups of friends, and I remember this one group of friends that I had, it was like 4 of us, and we would go out to lunch or dinner like once a month, right? I guess it was like 5 or 6 of us, and it was like, every single time after we left the lunch or dinner, it was like 3 people would call me, and it was always the same conversation about these other 2 people, right? And how negative they were and blah, 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 whatever. But then, like, nobody would ever say anything. And then we would get back together, and it was like everybody would be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then they would dominate the entire conversation. The whole conversation would be about... And it just was so draining. And I remember I said to my friend one time, I said, why are we not saying anything to them? And why are we continuing to go to these lunches or dinners? Like, listen, I only got so many lunches or dinners. I'm not wasting it about being around somebody and then having to spend another hour on the phone when I get home talking to 3 other people about how miserable we were at this lunch or dinner. It's a waste of my time. I'm not doing it. You know? No is 1 sentence. So when somebody invites me to something and I've had a bad experience in that situation before, I don't go today. Period. End of story. I don't do things unless they're of service to others, which those do bring me joy, but I don't do a lot today that's going to make me miserable out of feeling guilty for not showing up for something. I'm not going to do it. I don't really care, you know? There's a lot of other ways that I can see other people. You know, and thank God my family, like, we get along, right? But, like, with certain friends that, like, when they invite me to dinner and there's that one person that I don't want to interact with, then I'll ask the other people, I'll say, do you want to go out and have lunch, or do you want to go to a meeting, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? Like, I can still see those people. I don't have to go to that dinner and put myself in the middle of that situation that's going to bring me a lot of anxiety and stress and woe and misery. I don't have to do that today. I can set boundaries and limits. But I will tell you this, okay? Because this is something that I learned the hard way. When you start setting limits and boundaries in your life with toxic people, they will be very resistant to it. They will not like it. And yes, the people around them will be protective of them, okay? Because they're going to be afraid of losing that person because there's a codependent relationship on them. So don't expect to be the grandest person in the room when you start setting limits and boundaries and saying, I am no longer willing to accept this behavior that you're presenting to me. What people will probably say to you is that you're being an ass or you're being a bitch, period, in the story, okay? How can you even say those kinds of things? How are you doing this? That is what will happen. And that, I've experienced that, you know, when I say, no, I don't really want to go to dinner tonight. Well, why don't you want to go to dinner? Well, because I haven't had great interactions. Well, you know, and then that comes out and it's like, well, I'm the bad person for wanting to set that limit and that boundary. I don't care today. I really don't. You know, like, I want to enjoy my life. And so you've got to make the decision. Like this person that replied to you, you know, I know it may hurt you, but sometimes your peace is more important. My peace and serenity is not a luxury to me today. My peace and serenity is everything that I have. It's all I have. If I don't have my peace and serenity in my life today, if I don't have peace and serenity in my life today, I don't have anything. You know, it's the foundation for my life. I can't let people come in and destroy that for me. I just can't, you know? And the other thing is that I don't let a lot of other people have control over things in my life. So if I don't have peace and serenity in my life today, I guess I should have said this a different way than I said it just before. If I don't have peace and serenity in my life today because somebody else is coming in and taking it away, I'm allowing them to come in and take that away. That's on me. So then I'm the one that has to do the work. I'm the one that has to set the limit and the boundary and say, no, you're not doing this anymore. My peace and serenity is too important to me. You're not coming in and taking it away from me anymore. But I know with family it's really, really hard because I know that we have obligations and we feel guilty. And we feel like we should be around those people. In the past, when I've had to do those things, and I'm not going to say that there aren't situations, I still go around where I'm like, you know, like this person said, I just don't engage in it. I just don't have the conversations. I walk away. I stay my time. I interact with the people that I want to interact with, and I don't engage in it, you know? And to the other people that are coming to me and saying that they also walk on eggshells, I'm like, well, then say something. Or don't go, you know? Because ultimately, it's a choice that we're making, you know? So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys. I think the biggest thing, I do want to say this. I think the biggest thing in talking about toxicity, and this is the one thing that I've really, really learned. Like, the biggest thing about toxicity is, when we talk about removing toxicity from our life, setting boundaries with toxic people and things like that, is that to realize that we all ourselves have the ability to be toxic at times, and to work on our own issues of toxicity so that we aren't affecting other people in toxic ways. And only owning our part, because we can, that's all we really can do at the end of the day, you know? So anyway, let me know what you think about those things, and I think that they helped, I hope they helped a little bit, and I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.